Welcome to the randInt podcast with Raffy and Chandra.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the randInt podcast, where we look at how the random affects the everyday. And hooray!
Yay! Still going.
Yeah, it is. It is. What episode are we up to? 18, I think. So we're almost at the 20 mark where things are where we're outside that 50% mark by a huge margin. Today we were going to do a long-sode, but this is interesting circumstances, which we'll get
There are
into.
random circumstances that might prevent that.
Well, I was meant to be over there too, but anyway, so we're gonna do a bit of a mini-sode, and we'll begin it with how are ya? And since you're in the more interesting position, Chandra, how are ya?
I'm not bad. I am currently floating on a boat.
Can you flip the
about
camera
2
at all?
hours. Let's see.
So it's very dark. So
very
for those
dark.
listening, he's on a boat. It's in the middle of the water, and he's just panning around essentially what looks like a yacht. It's pointing at the steering wheel at the moment. And now it's
So-
back to him.
I feel like this is where we need to splice in the I'm on a boat song.
I'll see if I can find it. I'll add it if I can.
Perfect.
So
So-
why are you on a boat?
So earlier, sitting around Melbourne lockdown quite a bit last year, you go into random YouTube rabbit warrens, having a look to see, what's there to watch since I'm stuck at home all day, and the sailing YouTube channels kind of caught my eye. So I started watching a whole bunch of those, and eventually, when I came over to Perth earlier this year, they happened to have a last-minute cancellation on a course called Competent Crew to go on a sailboat and see and sort of learn how to sail. So I thought, oh yeah, why not? See what it's all about. Went on the course. And it was amazing. The whole sailing thing kind of really caught my eye then. I think it was one simple thing, which was the boat itself. Initially, you have the engine on, and it's just sort of you going on the engine power to get out. I was like, oh yeah, this is just like being on a boat, nothing special. But then once you put the sails up and the engine gets turned off, it's just like absolute peace and quiet. And
Oh, nice.
it's awesome. And also it's kind of cool. It's like, there's like 8 tons of boat here moving along just because it's a bit breezy.
Yeah, fair enough. So where are you at the moment? Like, it looks like in the middle of nowhere.
So right now, I'm currently in the Whitsundays. So after that course, I was like, oh yeah, I want to try this a bit more, and chartered a boat for a month. Because I was like, well, what's the best way to find out if you really hate something or like it? Just do it for a month straight. At the end of that, I was like, I'm going to be sick of this, or this could be awesome.
So how long has it been now?
So far, it's been 6 days, I think.
Oh, nice. I thought it was longer. And what's the opinion so far?
So far, it's awesome. But I'm keen to check in to see if that opinion changes at the end of the month.
Now, when you first planned this, I know you asked a few people from Melbourne and elsewhere. Clearly, all of those people are currently in lockdown. How are you staffing the boat? Are you just by yourself?
Yeah, so basically just finding a whole bunch of people that are keen on sailing. So
How are you finding them?
So far, it's been Facebook sailing groups.
Right. So you just posted up going, hey, I've got a boat. You want to join?
Pretty much. Turns out there's lots of people who are keen on sailing and want to go sailing. And
So
it's awesome.
who have your crewmates been so far? Like,
Yeah, so meeting some cool people. So first person that was on there was a guy who's lived here in the Whitsundays for the last 40 years, and he sort of had his own boat, and he knew a whole bunch of cool spots and stuff to check out. And then there was another person. She'd come up from Victoria a while back, and is now sort of was traveling around this region, and has some family here in Airlie Beach as well, and been doing some sailing. Was keen to get more experience as well. So that was awesome. And I've just had a new person join today, who is also thinking of getting a boat and has done some chartering around here as well.
nice.
So meeting lots of
there's-
random people. It's been quite good so far.
So it's like 4 people on the boat at the moment, or Are people just coming
No,
and
it's
going?
only coming and going. So keeping 2 or 3 people on the boat at once. Not a big boat.
Okay.
Not,
So how many
it's
people
not,
are in there at the moment?
Just 2 now.
Just you and another person, or? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. That sounds
Picking up
pretty
somebody else
darn
on
random.
Wednesday.
No.
Yeah.
There you go, as you do.
Well, the choice was either just not do it or just go, see what happens.
Yeah. All right. And have you found that doing your 1 week course was enough experience to sail a boat?
Yeah, managed to get it from point to point. So it's been good. And actually, especially the first week, the guy who was on here, he sort of owned his own boat and he was pretty experienced. So that was really good just to brush up with him. And yeah, now sort of basically from what I understand, it's a reasonably safe kind of grounds for learning how to sail it as well. Like the conditions are quite good. You're not sort of off in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And the charter companies keep a watch on you as well. So that's pretty good.
So how does it work? Like when you're going from point to point, is there like ship GPS? Is it like Google Maps? You just put it in and you kind of...
So there's literally a GPS with a map, which is important because it shows you the depth. So you don't go, you don't hit pointy things under your boat. Turns out that's important.
Fair enough. So what are you going to be doing for the next month? Like, we'll obviously have another episode, I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, if there's reception. On that note, Chandra's got like 1 bar, so if the audio quality is a bit crap at his end, this is why.
Yeah, apologies. This is like probably one of the only places that has really good reception. So I have been told if I hoist my phone up to the top of the mast, I should get better reception elsewhere. So I'm going to try that at some point.
Wow, all right. So what, phone in a bag?
Pretty much. Well, I thought I would just get a 4G hotspot because also the sun is baking hot. And I was like, I'm pretty sure if I send my phone up to the mast, it'll be dead by the time I take it down.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, so, well, that's pretty exciting. Well, very different from lockdown Victoria at the moment. So
yeah, a little bit different. So this is going to be a month of learning to sail, see what it's like all about.
And so far, I didn't remember what your answer was. Like good, bad, indifferent.
So far, awesome. Love
it.
The nice thing is during the day, because you're sailing there, there's some work, not too much work, but a little bit of work involved in getting there.
Like as in what? Just like what do you actually have to do? What's like a day on a boat like? Like I don't even know. Like we've done obviously the Antarctic cruise, but that's different.
Bit different.
Yeah.
So with the sails, like you have to sort of pull the sails out. You have to sort of adjust the sails a little bit depending on what the wind is like. And when you're going in a direction, you can't always just go in that direction. Sometimes you have to, depending on where the wind is, you might have to sort of zigzag your way along. And so you're kind of trying to work out, the wind's coming this way. What's the best way to go? And what's the quickest way to get there? And how do you adjust your sails to get there as well, to get the best out of the wind that you've got? So I have very little idea how to do that, but learning quickly, hopefully. And it kind of gives you like this sense of achievement when you get there at your destination. You're like, that was a well-deserved arrival. And then the nice thing is, in the Whitsundays, the weather's awesome. So you're just sitting outside watching sunset. And it's like, that was good. That was a tough day. Even though you probably didn't actually do that much, but it felt like you did something to arrive at your destination.
And then what have you been like, what's an average sail length? Like, is it an hour? Is it a few hours? Does it take most of the day?
It's been a little bit variable, but usually it'll take up, you get up at 8 or 9. By the time you get to your destination, it's sort of 2 or 3.
Okay. And so you're just kind of cruising along. And is it like you have to be at the helm steering the entire time, or is it more just like...
Yeah, so there's no auto steer on this.
Is there such a thing?
There is.
Oh my God, it's like a Tesla boat.
Unfortunately, Tesla mode not enabled, which is also probably good because then you have to sit here and pay attention. So that's good.
Oh, that's awesome. And just in terms of like, this is obviously the more exciting thing. I can talk about Victoria, but kind of boring. So in terms of the boat itself, like, what does it look like? What's inside? Is there bedrooms? Is it like,
so
I haven't been on one of these.
Yeah, so it's basically like, think of a really good camper van, but slightly
Yeah.
better.
Okay.
So it's got two bedrooms. It's got like
Yep.
a full, bathroom with shower.
Oh, nice.
Got a little kitchen area, and there is like a sort of sofa and table inside.
Oh,
But
nice. So like a proper
be honest-
house.
yeah, but to be honest, there's like a big outdoor area here where you can probably fit, I don't know, say 6 or 8 people if you had to.
Yeah.
But that's where kind of most of the day happens. You just sort of sit outside, get a nice cool breeze, and just enjoy outside. So that's kind of, the outdoor area is probably what you use the most.
Fair enough. And what, like, you just load up on water when you get the charter, or do you top up every so
So
often?
this boat is a little bit small, so it doesn't have a heap of storage space, but
Yeah.
you can keep sort of enough food and water for a week easily.
Nice. So you just went shopping and it's loaded up and you just make stuff on the.
Pretty much. And it's
Have
interesting.
you gone fishing?
So shopping. The last guy did bring a fishing rod, but we didn't catch anything. But one of the people coming on board is a spearfishing person, so
Oh,
that should
right.
be good.
Yeah, what were you saying about shopping?
Well, with the shopping, you have to be somewhat space and waste efficient as well, because you got to plan not just, I'll get that and that and that, but what's going to pack really well and what's going to keep a long time and what doesn't have a lot of, waste packaging, or if it does have waste packaging, for example, got some salmon, and I sort of had to repackage that into plastic bags, so that
there's no fridge
more
and
space
stuff.
in the fridge.
Yeah.
But
Is
it's
there a
pretty
fridge?
small.
Okay.
There's a fridge, but it's fairly small, so for a whole week.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Well, that's a different skill set to learn.
Yeah, even like the fruits you buy, you're like, which of these are going to have the least amount of waste? Or importantly, alcohol. So it's like, beer seems good, but then you're like, that's a lot of volume. Better spirits. So gin and tonic it is.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, I was going to give you an update, but it's not
so far.
Random interlude.
So how are you?
Yeah, look, Victoria's, I feel like it's been Groundhog's Day on repeat for a while now. So at the moment, we're heading into our COVID surge and COVID peak times. So basically, since our last episode, case numbers we've reclaimed our crown. We are now the COVID hotspot of Australia, even though we're supposedly not a hotspot, or we're getting wound back soon. We're almost there to 2,000 cases a day. Number one. Yeah, take that, New South Wales. Thought you could steal our crown. We've come back swinging and fighting. So the good thing is our vaccination rates are picking up, but it's just like hospitals and work. Like we're doing like one case in a list,
really?
where normally you do 4 to 5. It's just the prep work and everything else this takes. Like, I mean, even what was it? I had to do an extra case on Thursday, and it was literally a 20-minute case. It took like nearly 2 hours for like a simple plastics hand thing.
Do you have to take extra precautions?
It's not just extra, like, so we're in PPE, like the N95 mask and everything else, but like to get to the patient, you have to have everything set up in theater, including all your drugs that you think you're going to need, because otherwise they have to like chuck out everything that's been exposed. So all the equipment gets taken out, everything gets covered in plastic. They're going to wipe it down anyway, but to reduce the load, you take all your stuff in. So you have just like one roll of tape, that's your sacrificial roll of tape, one pen, that's your sacrificial pen, so on and so forth. So you get everything ready. Then you call for the patient. Instead of like them coming to the holding bay, they go straight from the COVID ward, up the elevators. And when they're coming, there's a cleaning crew behind them. So this specific place, anyway, like different places have different things. So certain places have specific like routes you have to take. But this place, it's a bit smaller and it's a bit older. So basically, patient comes and there's 2 people just like sweeping the walls down. There's one guy sweeping the floors behind, right? And they're basically following like 10 meters behind, just doing this the entire way. And basically, there's people deployed every so many meters to make sure that no one crosses the corridor for the next 5-10 minutes, whatever. So it's really resource intensive just getting the patient from the ward to theater, right? Like you just got to line everyone up, go, yep, come through. And once, like, I got stopped, like I just went to the bathroom and I couldn't go back because I was in the 10-minute wait. So I'm like, I shouldn't have gone now, but I would have been stuck otherwise. And one of the surgeons, actually the surgeon that I was working with, he had to go get tested because there wasn't someone deployed, and he walked through a corridor who had just had a thing because, basically different hospitals have what the patient has to wear. So some places the patient wears an N95, so they kind of, because they're more
limit themselves.
Yeah, whereas this place you don't, so they take more precautions in other ways. So there's different combinations of and then you do the case, but then you can't just, so once you finish the case, normally you drop the patient off in recovery and get the next one. But for a COVID patient, they stay in theater, they get recovered in theater, then they go straight from theater to their bed. So a theater basically gets shut down so you got to prep, you got to wait for them to come up, and they can't come up any earlier. So you got to be ready for them. You get the case done, then they get woken up and recovered, then they go straight back, then it gets terminal cleaned, so everything gets scrubbed, then you can do the next case. So just the addition of those things means that, yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to do your normal caseloads. So it's been, yeah, so, and like, yeah, it's widespread already that we're just, and people are, because we've got so many people in the community, like we had one person who was negative, they had started the case and the test came back positive. So then, like, I mean, all the healthcare workers are now already in protective gear, so we don't have to, they don't get. No, but then that list, which had 3 cases, by the time they finished, recovered, cleaned, nothing else.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Or it's not enough time to do any of the others. So things are very rapidly. The elective surgery is like, I'm pretty sure in the next week or so, by the time you hear this, we're probably going to be down to, like, we're currently at just under 2,000. We'll probably be at the 3,000 plus mark per day. And yeah, so it's getting a bit exhausting. So I've basically structured in like a few days to a week off every month between now and January. And I just had a few days off to just learn Python again. And it's just so refreshing. Just like it just like switches off the medical part of the brain, can learn something. And it was just like, now this part of the course is like the end of the beginner range where it's now, here's a project, just go build it without any hints. So it's been like good.
Nice.
And then just looking through how someone else has solved for it, and you're like, right. And so the next lesson is like setting up like a desktop development environment, and basically just this project just sounds really, really annoying rather than fun. Is like make a virtual coffee machine. So it's like you'll have to manage.
This sounds like your perfect thing.
Yeah, but it's like, the coffee machine will have like virtual milk, virtual water, virtual coffee. Then you have to select something like latte or whatever, and it deducts a certain amount from it. So it manages the resources, manages the coins, and gives you the change. So it's like basically having 3 different dictionaries and pulling the right data out of it. But it sounds ridiculously boring and mind-numbing personally, but I think it would be good practice to get into the good habits, because you have so many bits of data that if you don't do it properly, is going to trip it up. So I think
a good project to learn on.
Yeah, it's like
when I had a brief amount of reception earlier today, I had to just finish off a couple of bits and pieces. But yeah, coding on a boat's great.
Yeah. All right, I'll have to try it one day. And the other thing, my random thing has been, so for the last little while, I've been feeling really, really tired. Like I would sleep lots, and then I'd go to work and have like a half day, but then I'd come and have a nap. And I was just like, man, I just put it down to lack of holidays and lack of having a break. So went to see the GP. It turns out my vitamin D levels are like less than half normal.
Oh, I should probably check that too. Oh, I should have checked that at the start of this trip and at the end.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good one. So it turns out so normal levels are like 50 plus, right? So mine's like 18. And when you start getting to that low, and my brother's was supposedly single digits not that long ago, and he was having like,
I think mine was low at some point too.
Well, we kind of have too much melanin to
melanin to hospital ratio.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
So I have recently started taking vitamin D supplements, so like that. And then today I went on a picnic.
Are you cured of everything now?
It's literally been like 2 days. So yeah, so I went on a picnic, and today, and which is about the only legal thing allowed in Victoria. And normally, like, I avoid the sun. I'll find the shade, the coldest part of the park. This time I was like, all right, I'll stay out there. But then the thing is, I came home and then I fell asleep because, like, when you're out there in the afternoon sun and you can start to get tired and you're like, oh, and then I got home and then I fell asleep. I don't know if that was just sun exposure or the same time.
Yeah, for heat stroke.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. It's already actually been close to 15-20 minutes. So we were gonna do you want to do an interesting segment, or do you want to just do random questions and call it? It's just I'm also trying to be mindful of the fact that reception and everything's poor. You're just kind of chopping in and out.
Let's try the random questions.
Yeah, because again, audio quality's just gotten a bit bad as well. All right, so we'll make this into a mini-sode just because, what else are we going to do with that limited reception? And then we'll add in, so next episode, so at the moment, our first voicemail has not actually played yet on the podcast, so that'll be going live in the next 12-24 hours. So the person who sent it doesn't know yet whether you've accepted or declined the challenge of sorting out. So we're gonna have, by the time the next episode comes out, we should have an update on what's happening. Yeah, so that'll become a big episode just because we'll have to cover that and a few other things. So this time around, we'll just skip to the random questions and call it. Yeah, so this what occurred to me today as I was walking to the picnic. So you can answer it first since you've got more interesting things to talk about, which is, what's an everyday thing that you've not really ever noticed before, but it's caught your eye, and why?
Well, it's probably something that it's been a little while since I've noticed it, or maybe just been a bit busy lately watching sunset. When you look away from the sunset itself, but you look at the cloud behind you, those are the ones that light up with the cover. It's just been noticing that today and the last couple of days. Partly because now, basically, 5 o'clock is sitting on sunset o'clock.
Yeah.
But it's very noticeable.
Yeah, well, I suppose the other thing is, in Melbourne,
like just being glancing at sunset, as it goes down while you're working.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, I think in Melbourne, because of the way the apartment faces, you just face towards the sunset. You can't see the other side.
That's true.
Yeah. And has it been different for you looking away, like as in?
Yeah, because normally I've got my camera out / drone out, pointing in that direction.
Yeah.
But no, it's been good. It's like I actually have a few sunsets to watch, so I can look around.
Yeah. And what's the weather like? Has it been mainly just like, all I remember when I used to live in Queensland was every day was pretty similar.
Pretty much. I think 28 degrees, hot, bit humid, but with a cool breeze.
Nice.
From the water. That's perfect.
I mean, way too hot, obviously global warming and all that. I mean, it should be 20 degrees. That would be perfect, but oh well. Oh yeah, any hay fever? It's starting to get to hay fever season here. Ah man, it's like one thing only thing I really like about Queensland, lack of hay fever.
Salt water fixes that.
Oh yeah, true. So on my side, the reason I asked the random question was so as I was walking to the picnic today, like at the moment, one of the few things you can do is catch up with friends outside if they're vaccinated with a picnic. That's it, right? Like we're under fairly severe restrictions at the moment, and we're walking through the botanical gardens, and as a result, there's just lots of cars, like as in the entire botanical gardens was filled. Like there would have been thousands of people, and because there have been protesters, like cops and everything around. But what caught my eye was actually like all the different cars that just piled up one after the other. And just because people are just coming, they're bringing picnic gear, etc. And what I started to notice, and this is like the weirdest thing, was the front bonnet, the frunk, right? Like that top plate, the one that you have to lift up if you have to get to the engine, or if you've got a Tesla, like that front bonnet, right? The shape of that, right? So if you have a look at utes and 4-wheel drives, they have a very similar cutout where they have a big grill and it kind of comes straight down the sides and stops at the grill and it just opens up. Whereas if you look at sedans, different sedans have like this thing where the front plate and the first part where the badge goes is not part of the grill, and it kind of has like a more of a bucket system, whereas other ones go all the way, right? And I was just like, I wonder why they did that. And then I couldn't come up with any reasons. It's probably structural integrity or whatnot. But then I realized, if I kept on looking, is that someone's gone and designed it, because you look at the corners and whatnot, right? They go on to these weird angles and weird shapes just to minimize the gaps and where the hinges go, so that it's like the smallest possible gap through, whilst being able to get to the right bits so that you can replace parts. So it just made me kind of stop and go, what a random thing to notice. But someone has spent an inordinate amount of time like getting it just right. Job. Yeah. But you just kind of go, did you ever consider, like, like, I don't know, like this pen? Oh, okay. This pen specifically is a bad example because it's a fountain pen that I bought off Kickstarter, and the entire reason was how they went about designing it. So it's got like a magnet and whatnot, but like pick up any other pen. It's like someone's thought about the diameter of it, the grip, the the roller mechanism, like how it gets refilled. Like someone's like all these little items that you just kind of never notice or think about. There's these tiny little details someone's actually put in an effort. It could just be the default. Like, I'm sure, I don't know.
Or like the most common ones, somebody's worked out where to put the drug company's logo on the pen.
Yeah, or that. But it's like, it just kind of made me just stop and go, like, how many little things, like it could be clothing, could be this or that. Like every part of it has had like this enormous, it was like this book ages ago, which talks about.
We have this book called The Design of Everyday Things.
Yeah?
There's a book called The Design of Everyday Things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it goes into a lot of design aspects of things. And it talks about this, how some of the simplest objects, you don't notice the design of them.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point. It just works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so there was this, I'm not sure if it was the same book, but it was someone giving an example. It's like, think of a simple lead pencil, right? And actually, it was one of the other innovation books. I think it was either How Innovation Works or something. But basically, the example was, and it was arguing against like being a generalist. So as in everyone kind of looks back in the olden days where you were hunter-gatherers or farmers and you grew your own food and you kind of could patch together your house and it was self-sufficient. And people were like, oh yeah, the good old days where, you didn't have to work for the man, etc., etc. And they were saying like the argument was, okay, all right, in those days you couldn't really like learn stuff, etc. There was just, you were looking after the animals, looking after your farm, looking after your house. And it's like, just imagine you did end up like school was just starting, or you could just learn stuff, right? Let's say you wanted to write something down, right? How would you make a pencil? And it basically goes through how many steps a simple pencil takes. It's like, where do you find the graphite or what, or lead back in the day? How do you mine it? How do you shape it into that? How do you then you get the wood. So you cut down the wood, and then what, you also have the machining thing just to get it just right and drill the hole and then get the lead in. Then how do you seal it? And then, how do you wrap it? And then you go, that's just one pencil. So if everyone was self-sufficient, just imagine how much effort you'd have to spend to make your one pencil.
Then you probably wouldn't need a pencil because you don't really need to keep track of nearly as much stuff.
Yeah. But like, as in, the thing would be that, it's kind of like, if you're a generalist,
this is
just imagine
trade works.
Yeah, exactly. So it was going on to like why societies, once you get a certain number of people in any community, you start to see specialization as a function of population size. So because there's enough demand for you to go and create stuff, and it's more efficient because you get better at that thing, so that so everyone can get a pencil, instead of it being one person having pencils, the other person not. Everyone can get access to pencils, but then you don't have to learn how to, I don't know, spearfish. Because someone else, the spearfisher, can go do the spearfishing and get really good at it. So he'll probably get more fish per hour spent.
But that also does look fun.
Sorry?
But that also does look fun.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously you can do more than one thing, but, because I was kind of, up until someone made that point, I was very much like, oh yeah, the olden days would have been great, because you do get a bit of like what you're saying with the driving the boat around. You get a bit of satisfaction doing like this low yield stuff. Like, going from point A to point B feels like a satisfying day's work. Doing this thing feels satisfying, but ultimately your standard of living or what you can do with your time is far, far lower, even though it feels much more satisfying. So maybe there is something to not optimizing everything for specialties, but yeah. Anyway, so
I
that
think
was
that even
where.
applies to med as well, where sometimes it's like, sometimes it's nice to have a bit of variety to what you do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
balance.
And I think in terms of med, the Australian system and the UK system, where you go through internship and you have to do a mix versus like the American system where you finish and you go straight into your specialty or start earlier than that. Like I think it makes a big difference because I have talked to like yeah, I think it was during like one of the JMTN things in Washington. Remember there was like the ED. The old ED reg is like in the US was just saying if you come from Australia or UK and you work in the American system, you'll just be more comfortable. Instead of referring early, you can actually manage a few extra things. And sometimes it just decreases the workload of the other person. Or if you're in ED or some other specialty that has a lot of crossover with a lot of other things, you can just manage more. So you're just capable of doing more fun things or going, oh yeah, I think it's this, instead of just being, so you get a lot more variety in your work.
Yeah, it's true. Well, right now I'm going to specialize in looking at the other side of sunsets.
All right. Well, with that, we will call it an episode, I think. It looks,
Indeed.
I think you're just going to enjoy the stars out there. It looks so dark. It must be like the best view.
Yeah. You get basically the full Milky Way. There's no moon out. It looks amazing.
Oh, that is awesome. Man, I am super jealous. I wish we weren't in lockdown so I could come up, but the moment this ends, you're going to have to book another trip since I don't have any sailing experience. So yeah, you're going to have to stay
I'll
unemployed.
have to get you
Too bad.
next.
All right, with
I'm
that,
okay with that.
like and subscribe and all that stuff. I'm surprised the video stayed up for you from your side for so long. Yeah.
This is true.
Yes, and leave us more voicemails. We will actually action from the last one. And feedback is, of course, at podcast@photosbyraffi.com. Everything will be in the show notes, including the books Chandra's mentioned. And we'll catch you next time. Hopefully with I don't know if you're probably going to still be on the boats. It might be another mini-sode, but we'll try to see what we can do with reception and everything else.
Sounds good.
All right.
We will chat to everyone soon.
All right. Have a good one, man. That looks awesome fun. And don't get attacked by sharks.
Yeah, and told not to swim in certain areas.
Yeah. I've had not friends, but acquaintances
Yes.
in that area get bitten with not so good outcomes. All right. On that note, stay safe. Don't get COVID either. All right. Catch ya.
So yeah.
All righty. Shall we start?
All right. So do I need to stay here? Because this is not a good place.
Oh, isn't it? I can see you well on this one.
Yeah, I know, but I can't really stay here.
Why?
This is like in the middle of nowhere. This is kind of just like me standing in the middle of here.
What?
This is just like, hang on. I have a feeling I'm going to get wind noise as well.
Not at the moment.
No? All right, cool. Let's give it a go.
I can't hear anything, even in my headphones.
Yeah, okay. Pretty good.
All right then. Shall we start?